So I like to start talking a little bit about your beginning because you started like a little kid. So what are your strongest memories from those first experiences that you had in the rock?
Uh, I think my strongest memories are long days on really easy climbs with my family, uh, especially in Tuolumne and Yosemite. And I think what I recall most about those days is just how fun and like even though it was a lot of work, it was also so rewarding just to be able to reach the summit of something. And it was really motivating because for a little kid, it's so easy to look at a peak and think like, oh, I want to climb that. And so um, those are definitely the strongest memories.
And I think your father had a lot of influence in you, and I think also he still belays you in some of your sense. How do you evaluate that influence of your? I don't know if only your father or also your parents, but
Yeah, it's actually probably both my parents. I would say equal parts, and I think their influence. I mean, they've really influenced me because they were kind of guiding me even from my first days ever climbing, and so their influence has always been there. And even nowadays, when I'm thinking of a project or planning a trip, I'm talking with them, I'm running it by them, and they're yeah, they're my parents, they're my coaches, advisors, everything.
that's nice. That's very nice. And also, you were very young, only with 15 years old, when you first free climbed the nose. That for
Mhm.
many climbers is like a lifetime goal. And what it motivated you to go for such a huge objective when you were so young?
Um, I actually it was weird because I hadn't done very many really hard climbs in the valley, but I was climbing the nose in a day with my dad and his friend Tim Klein, and Tim actually was really encouraging me to try all the crux pitches, and I knew I was good at slob climbing, and the kind of all day stamina was kind of my strength, and so I knew that El Cap was something that might one day be in my wheelhouse. But yeah, eventually I started trying it, and Tim was really encouraging me to try it some more. Unfortunately, he passed away in a climbing accident while I was trying it, but he but then I also met Tommy Caldwell, and Tommy was encouraging me a lot, and so I think it was really just the outside encouragement that really helped.
Okay.
Otherwise, I'm not sure I would have been able to try it.
That's great. And also, some years passed that you were 22 years old, I think, and you went again to the nose and did it not only free climb, but also in a day that, following this legacy of Tommy Caldwell and also Lynn Hill. Also, you had done the triple direct in some days before. And so the question is that are you aware that these climbs place you like in Yosemite history, like you're like a new role model for the young climbers, or you is something that you really don't think about that?
I mean, well, if that's true, I'm honored, but it's not something I think about much. I think it's really I'm just kind of looking towards what inspires me and towards that next goal. And Tommy Caldwell and Lynn Hill are just such big inspirations in my climbing that being able to even just being able to try to free the nose in a day was just really special.
Yeah, sure. And also it's curious because in today's society and also in climbing communities, like people look for comfort, for safety, like in climbing, for sport climbing, less risk. But you from a very early age, you choose big walls, trad climbing. What made you choose this? Why?
I think uh, what's interesting about big walls and track climbing is the risk can be quite low if you're actively mitigating it. And so it's not so much that I'm seeking out what's more risky, it's more that I want to be I want to be more connected um, with the danger, because I think the danger of sport climbing sometimes is a lot of people will think that sport climbing is completely safe. Nothing can ever happen, and that's not true. And so I think one of the nice parts about trad climbing and big walling is that yes, things can happen, but you're very aware that they can happen, and you're taking active steps to mitigate that risk. In terms of what motivated me towards trad climbing, I think it's just, especially for a younger kid, it's the most obvious in terms of like inspiration, in that it's hard to look at a wall like El Cap and not be impressed by it and not want to climb it. And so that's kind of that's the main draw for me.
Oh, good. And also about this trad climbing, how do you see the future of the sport? Like, do you think there's potential at the very top grades of trad climbing because you're already in the very top?
I think there's a lot of potential. I think it gets challenging to find perfect lines that protect on gear, but I think the top level in terms of physical climbing ability, in terms of bouldering power, in terms of sport climbing fitness, the top level of the top trad climbers is way lower than the top level of the top boulders or sport climbers, right? And so I think there's definitely a lot of room for much, much harder trad climbs to exist. Um, I think the challenge is just finding the right lines.
That's interesting to see. And in concrete about your this route Drifterscape, I think it's called in Squamish, that you propose 515A, no 9A plus, that is the
Yeah.
hardest now in in trad climb. What shocks is also that you made this climb in July last year, but you
Mm-hmm.
didn't make publish until some 1 month ago or so. So first,
Yeah.
why it took so long for you to communicate?
I think part of it was when I climbed through, I didn't know what to think about it. Like I didn't know what I was going to grade it. I didn't know like how I felt about the whole thing. And also part of it was we had this film project and we were making the film. And so we thought, well, if I could have some more time to kind of organize my own thoughts about the experience, and uh, the filmmakers had time to make the film, it would both make sense in terms of like a marketing perspective, right, where we announce it uh, around the similar time that the film is coming out, and I'd be able to kind of better articulate my experience about it. And I found that it really that what happened was I was able to really separate in my mind the experience of climbing the route and projecting the route and that whole journey from the experience of sharing it and the media around it. And I was able to kind of keep those two things very separate, which was quite nice for me.
Okay, nice that. And also about this route, could you describe a little bit how are the hardest moves of these routes? Why do you think it's so hard?
So the interesting part about the route is it's very sustained the whole way up. There's a lot of moves that aren't that hard, but they're very technical and they're very strenuous, and you have to have a lot of tension the entire time. And so by the time you get to the first crux, which is about halfway up, a little more than halfway up, you're already feeling fatigued. And the first crux is it's maybe an 8A boulder, and it has the moves. It's the steepest part of the climb. Um, the crack gets quite thin, and you're just kind of crimping the edges of it. And eventually, the crux is a pogo move, where you kind of kick your foot and go for this side pull, and it's a little bit low percentage as well. Uh, and so once you get through it, you really have to compose yourself, try to recover as best you can. And then there's kind of a long section that leads into the top crux, which is maybe another 8A boulder. And that top crux, you don't have much rest going into it. And you're quite tired. And it's that boulder is really technical. It's um, it's very particular. And so you need to kind of get every detail correct in order to do it, which can be challenging after climbing for so long.
Okay, I see. And also not only this route, but you have a list of hard trad routes that are totally impressive. You know, Meltdown, Magic Like, Cobra Crack of Destiny, Empath, Blackbird's Tears. So do you think these routes has something in common among them? And also, could you describe the main lessons these climbs do you think they have teach you?
Um, Sorry, is the question like how does drifters compare to those?
Yeah, if all these routes have something in common that you would say, well,
Mhm.
not only the grade, you know, that is hard grade, but it's like they have teach you something special, maybe all of
Mm.
them, or maybe you choose one of them that was like more important for you, maybe.
I feel like each route has had a bit of a different lesson to me. I think Meltdown, for example, when I was trying it, my progress was very much like up and down and up and down. I'd have good days and I'd have bad days. And I think Meltdown really taught me to not analyze too much from one bad session,
Mhm.
right? To not focus too much on the negative and just kind of take each day as it comes. Drifters, on the other hand, I think was a really fun process, and it was also I did the best on my best attempts. I wasn't expecting much, right? I would just kind of go in with no expectation, just you know climbing for the sake of climbing, and so I think that's what drifters taught me. I'd say like Cobra Crack was kind of the first of the harder track single pitch track climbs I did, and so that one really that was kind of just opening my eyes to what's possible and kind of just telling myself to go and try these harder climbs. And so I think each climb definitely had a slightly different lesson. Blackbeard's Tears, I did some very strange beta, and so it kind of taught me to be creative a little
Mhm.
bit.
Mhm.
And so every climb had a different lesson, but yeah, I don't know. They're all so different, so it's hard to be able to compare them all.
Okay. And also, how do you choose your project? Would you say that grade is an important factor also, because we tend to, well, it's not that important, but it is, or not? What do you think?
I think I really try to focus on. I really try to be honest with myself about like what about the route inspires me. And so for Drifter's Escape, it was that the line is so beautiful. You can see it from everywhere in Squamish, and the movement is incredible as well. And so it's just like such a good piece of rock. And so that's what really attracted me about Drifters, right? Something like the nose. What attracts me to that one is well, both the line. It's right up the center of El Capitan, but also the history, right, with Lim Hill and all the other legends who have climbed it. And so the nose, for example, doesn't have the highest grade in the grand scheme of things, but it still motivates me like as much or more than other projects because it was just like such a singular line and had this like central role in the history of climbing. And so, yeah, I think it really depends route to route, but yeah, I mean, I'd say I try to be honest with myself because if I end up trying something just because of the grade, I'll probably do worse on it, right? If my motivation is more pure, I feel like I have a better time on the route and then I climb better as well.
Yeah, okay, I see. And well, we know many routes that you've done, but is there any route that you haven't sent that still sticks in your mind, that you think about it, that because you haven't been able to do it?
Yeah, there's a lot of climbs I've tried and been unable to do, and so yeah, the list of projects is endless, and
Okay.
so
So you don't send everything you try us, because we see at you and we think you always send everything, but it
no,
doesn't happen like that.
it doesn't happen like that, and so yeah, it definitely and even the climbs I do send, it's never a given, right? It's sometimes it's the end of the trip. Sometimes it's before bad weather comes. Sometimes there's doubts, and so yeah, there's plenty of climbs that I've not quite done. One example in Squamish is Dreamcatcher.
Okay.
I wasn't trying it much, and then after doing Drifters, I started trying it a bit, and then I had to go home. But I like almost did it right before leaving, and so
You
when I
should
go back to Squamish, I'll
you
try it.
should go back then.
I want to.
And well, imagine this situation: you're climbing and you have a very thin crack. You can barely place any gear. And what goes through in your mind, and what keeps you to stay focused and to move upward? What is the process? This process in your mind?
I think for me the best thing is to really try to push all those thoughts out of my mind, because as soon as I start thinking like, oh no, I might fall here, or oh no, I'm doing really well, I'm going to do it, either way, it's I start overthinking and then overanalyzing, and then maybe I'm over gripping, maybe I'm not standing on the feet very well, and I start to lose focus. And so I think for me, the best is to keep the mind empty and be really, really just open to uh, like open to the possibility that anything can happen, and not try to think about the outcome, because as soon as I think about the outcome, it's not gonna like I'm very likely to fall. So I think, yeah, really just taking one move at a time, even if I am a little bit run out or scared or something.
Yeah, that's very usual. So you do you have any like ritual before climbing, like placing your girls somehow, or any
Mm,
mental trick or something that you could share?
yeah, so I guess my uh, routine, if it's a project that I'm trying, I have the gear all in order on my harness, like with like the hands that I'm gonna place it with, the pieces I place lower down, I put forward on my harness, and so I really just have to reach down, grab the first cam. I don't even have to look at it, and I know it's the right cam. So from a practical standpoint, I do that. I think one of the biggest lessons from the past year for me is um, when I'm climbing, I try to make sure I have like something I want to focus on for that attempt that's not a negative. So I don't want to say like, oh, don't mess up here. This is where I fell last time. Don't fall here. Instead, I want to think, okay, I want to climb the bottom really well this time, or I want to rest really well at this rest, or when I grab this hold in the crux, I want to really get it perfectly. And so if I can have specific objectives like that that aren't outcome related and that are things to focus on rather than things to avoid. I think for me that's the most helpful.
Yeah, that's very powerful for sure. And about training specific for crack climbing that is difficult, do you have like any crack machine in your house, or you just train in the rock, or how do you do this?
No, I think I generally when I'm training, I just train general strength and power as if I'm training for a hard boulder or a sport climb or whatever. And then yeah, I guess I get my crack climbing training just by climbing on cracks.
Okay.
And it's also nice because I do a lot of I also just love I just love days doing easy climbs as well. And so maybe, or I say easy, they're not necessarily easy, but easier. So like, for instance, in Yosemite, like the Rostrum or Astroman, or just climbing the nose in a day, even if I'm not free climbing it,
Mm-hmm.
and just getting that amount of volume, that much experience on like climbing cracks, I think is really helpful as well.
Yeah, sure, sure, sure. And nowadays, do you make a living as a professional climbing, or do you also combine with any other job, any other studies, or you're focusing only on climbing nowadays?
Right now, I'm in university, so I'm getting my master's degree in electrical engineering.
Mm-hmm.
I've got another year
Okay,
before
great.
I graduate, and I'm not entirely sure what I'll do once I graduate. I'm still kind of working that out.
Okay, great. And about marketing and social media, uh, what role do you think it plays in your career as a climber, but also in your personal life? What importance do you give to these things?
I try to really minimize the importance of that. I find I kind of struggle to really share on social media in a way that feels very meaningful to me. And so, even for instance, on Drifter's Escape, I didn't share about it for more than half a year.
Mm.
And so, and so the experience on the climb was really personal for me. It wasn't just the Instagram paragraph I
Mm-hmm.
put out there. And so I think I see media as it's something that I do to share about my climbs with the world, to share these films, and to help support also the filmmakers too. Um, I can say that Eric Bissell and Dave Fitzgerald, they're the ones who made the film about Drifters
Mm-hmm.
Escape, and they did such an amazing job. They put in so much work on it,
Okay.
and so I think, yeah, like it's always really cool to be able to support their work too.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, it's not. the media, it's something I do, but it's not something I focus on.
And also a bit related with this is that about the your sponsor. Do you feel this pressure of climbing harder to please them, or do you really feel that you do it just for yourself?
I think my sponsors have made it very clear that they're just so happy to support my climbing, which I'm really grateful for, regardless of what that climbing is. And so I try to. I think most of the pressure I feel in my climbing just comes from myself. And so sometimes it is a lot of pressure that I feel from myself, but I definitely do it for personal reasons. It's not external. It can be hard for if it's like a trip that we're filming. It can be it can be tricky with oh, maybe the filmmaker has to leave, or just logistics of making sure the filmmaker can be there for every attempt. But filming in the past year with Eric, again, it's been really incredible because he's so good at working with the athlete and making sure the athlete is getting the support they need.
Okay, good, great. And one question more like general issues. It's difficult international times now with all these wars around the world, like Ukraine, now Iran, and all of that. Do you think do you see climbing like a way to escape from the real world, or do you think also that climbing can influence somehow the society in a positive way?
Well, I think it can influence society in a positive way in that it can be that escape, because I think so many people get very, very stressed about the state of the world right now. I know I am, and especially what's happening in the United States is just crazy. And so I think it's it's really easy to be stressing about it, and I do, and it's nice to just go to the gym or go to the crag and at least for a few hours put it to the back of the mind. And I think because climbing does that for so many people, I think then it does kind of gain this greater significance because it's something that allows people to really
Be happy, maybe.
to really be happy even in difficult times.
Yeah, is for you like that also climbing? Do you see like an evasion or to like your safe place or your happy place, more or less, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely lower stakes than what some people are facing in the world. But for example, yesterday I had a really stressful day in university. I was struggling in classes. It was just really busy. I had a lot of meetings. It was just like a lot. And then I went to the climbing gym, and for 2 hours, and I was stressed. I had a lot of homework too. Um, and then I went to the climbing gym for 2 hours, and for 2 hours I was able to forget about it and to just climb and have fun and reset. And then when I came back, I was ready to finish my homework, and so it was nice to have that balance.
Yeah, it's like you climb and you face the rest of the life differently, no? It's like with another spirit.
Yeah,
And also, last one,
exactly.
about this project that they sent us, like it's called Born from the Climbing Life. That I think you're
Mhm.
going to climb some of the hardest track routes and you're making films. But tell us a little bit about it, because I don't know if these are climbs that you have already done or these are new climbs that you're searching. How is this project going to be?
So yeah, absolutely. So throughout, basically, for the second half of 2025, so that was this past year, July through December, I was taking time off school and just climbing, and I was filming with Eric and Dave, and working with Black Diamond, and I went on a few climbing trips, two trips to Europe, and lots of climbing in Yosemite, climbing in Squamish on Drifter's Escape, and we were just filming the entire time. And so, what this series is going to be is just sharing that
Ah,
climbing
okay.
with the world
Ah,
and
okay, okay.
sharing what
Now I
I've been up
see.
to. And
Okay, so
so
you
it was,
already you have already done those climbs.
yeah,
Ah,
yeah.
okay, okay.
And so it's just, yeah, and it was just such a fun time of my life. It was just such a special. It was really a special 6 months. I think I I had a lot of good times climbs, I learned so many lessons
Mhm.
in my climbing. I got to go to places I'd never been before, uh, climb with climb with new people, spend time with people. It was just an incredible experience, and so I'm really, really excited to be able to share those films with the world and for people
Okay.
to really see what I've been up to.
And just one more. Have you ever been climbing in Spain?
No, I really want to.
No, you have to.
I really want to. I almost did in December, but I had to go home earlier. But
Okay. Do you know any climbers here in Spain?
um, I I know no, I don't.
Well,
But I know
Chris Arma is living here in Spain, you know.
I know he's living. Well, I don't know him personally. I
Okay.
know of a lot of climbers,
Okay.
but I don't know anyone directly. But actually, one of my friends from school is 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 Spanish, but lives in Amsterdam. But um, yeah, I really want to go to
Yeah,
Spain.
so we wait for you here. We also have a good
Yeah,
trad climbing. We have a lot of sport climbing is what Spain is most known for, but we also have
yeah.
trad climbing. We have everything and many
Well, I'm
projects.
interested in everything. It's funny that I'm like seen as this rad climber because I spend a lot of time sport climbing. I spend a lot of time even just in the gym bouldering, and so it's nice to. I would be really excited for
And how
a
about
sport
big
Spain.
mountains? Do you see yourself in the future like trying big mountains? Or is not something that calls you?
I think it depends on the mountain. I think when the mountains have if they have really good rock climbing, so like the climbing in Patagonia, that really really appeals to me. But I think just the like climbing in the Himalaya, for instance, is maybe not as appealing just because it's more mountaineering and there's less actual rock climbing. But places like Trango Tower or Nameless Tower are also just really high on the list. And so yeah,
Okay,
I've got some interest for sure, but the interest is really on rocks and
great.
finding the best rock climbing.
Great, so thanks a lot, Connor. We wait for you in Spain to climb. and, and that's it. Well, if there's something we haven't shared that you want to add, maybe?
I think that's everything I could think of.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did many questions. Well, so that's it. Thanks a lot. Thanks for your
Yeah,
time,
thank you.
and we wait for you in Spain. Okay.
Okay.
Ciao.
Looking forward.
Bye. Thank you.